Sleep. The thing we all love, but we don't love enough to care about how much we get or when we sleep. And we also like complaining a lot about it when we don't get enough of it. So let's talk about it a little bit, shall we? Now, like usual, let's start somewhere simple. What is sleep? Well, I like to think about it a lot like a form of rest. Now, why is this form of rest so important? And people say all the time, sleep, get your sleep in, or sleep enough, do this, and they're always nagging you about it. But you think you're so good, you think you're so amazing that you try vibing off of, 5-6 hours. Look at me go, right? I'm so cool. Oh man, you hear that? That's a degenerate's way of thinking. Do not internalize the belief that sleep is for the weak. Please, please, please. Oh my gosh. Just thinking about it worries me that some people might, all jokes aside, some people might actually take that statement super seriously. It is idiotic to think that sleep is for the weak. Alright, so let's talk about this a little bit. So, why do we sleep, right? Because if we are sleep deprived, it will deteriorate us. That's it. And prolonged deprivation can cause hallucinations, delusions, cognitive impairment, and even death. Yes, so it's crucial for us to sleep. Okay, so now that we've talked about why we should sleep, right? Let's talk a little bit about the time, when, and how much, right? Those two things. Very important, because most of you might understand that, okay, sleep's important, but you still might not sleep on a schedule. And most people are very, very scared of that word schedule. They think it's almost like a prison. No, it isn't. It's to have the kind of day that you want to. And that's also something I wanted to talk about. Before I get into the timings for the sleeps, right? I want to talk about how sleep is the most basic, the most first step to be able to establish a schedule. Because if you're not waking up on the time that you want to wake up on, right, or the time that you need to wake up, then your whole day is thrown off. And now you don't want to do the things that you told yourself you're going to do because, oh, my day's already thrown off right after waking up. And then it's well, why bother doing the rest of my day if it's already thrown off? I'll just reset. And then you're constantly in a cycle of, hey, I'll do it tomorrow, hey, I'll do it tomorrow, and it never, it's almost like procrastination but for your schedule. And if you're procrastinating on making your schedule or forming a schedule, then nothing gets done, right? So and I've been guilty of this several times. Jeez, too much for me to count at this point, right? But all that matters is we try to move and we try to improve. That's it right there. I think I might make that like a little saying on here. Move and improve. Because that's all you can really do, right? Anyway, mini side tangent thing, but let's move on to how much sleep and when to sleep, right? And the answer to that lies in something called the circadian rhythm. Now, for those of you who don't know, let me explain what that is, right? The definition of circadian rhythm is that it's basically a biological clock. It controls the rise and fall of physiological responses such as temperature and even sleep. And this rhythm is regulated by the sun. So, for example, right, you might feel this at times at night, maybe at about 9 through 11, you'll start to feel sleepy, somewhere around that time. And, well, you stay up. Why? Because you want to do some leisure activities or whatnot, which, okay, there's a half and half when it comes to that, right? Say it's like the weekends, or like it's like you're on break for a little bit, or yeah, you can enjoy yourself, right? You have some time, enjoy some leisure, but make sure it doesn't get in the way of anything improvement. If it's getting in the way, then it needs to be dealt with, right? We can't let anything become too much of a distraction for our goals and for our mission. So, like I said, overindulging in pleasure is terrible. Overstimulation, all that. With regulation, it is fine, but in order to regulate it, I think you need to take a step back and really, really analyze, because when you tell yourself you're gonna stay away from these pleasures, you don't have the willpower to, because sometimes you have these walls within your mind, right? It's almost like these barricades you create against the other self, which is the one that wants pleasure, and then some way this pleasure-seeking person, that other version of you, seeps through the cracks every time, silently within your mind, without you saying anything or doing anything about it, right? So, not to go on a whole long thing about overindulging in pleasure there, but that's what I'm talking about, right? What's preventing us from sleeping is the fact that we're overindulging in our pleasure. Now, like I said, from time to time, the weekend, the boys are on, or you're going out somewhere, or like some sort of gathering or whatever, alright, fine, cool. Just make sure it doesn't get in the way of most of the big picture. It should not be an everyday thing. Keeping it scarce is what's going to keep it fun and enjoyable, and the things that you like doing, right? Because I'm not like other self-improvement channels, or whatever you might call them, right? Or influencers. I'd like to say that you're able to enjoy yourself. There are some rules, there are some things, but within moderation. Now, I've talked about this a little bit too much, so let me get back on the topic of sleep, right? Now, let's talk a little bit about how this biological clock, or circadian rhythm as you might call it, how does it work, right? So, basically your body produces melatonin around 10 to 11 p.m. to sleep. And for those of you who don't know what melatonin is, it's a hormone that your body releases to help you sleep. That's a simple explanation. Now, I just talked about why you should sleep at a certain time, right? Which is around, I'd say, 9 to 11 p.m. ideally. But if your body feels like it's tired, a lot more tired at certain times, kind of listen to your body and see how it feels. So the best way I'd say to do this is just, if your schedule is really, really messed up, try to fix it at your own pace, like little by little, until it fixes itself. So like, say you go to bed at like 3 a.m., right? Let's try to aim for like 2 a.m. the next day, and then 1 a.m. the next day. You could go for like the hard approach, which is like, oh, I went to bed at 5 a.m. one day, and now I'm going to immediately go to bed at like 10 p.m. But just be prepared for your body to not be used to that whatsoever, right? The entire point of easing it in is so your body gets used to it. After you start going to sleep before midnight, now these are going to be the hours where you really test, like, hey, when is it the best time for me to go to sleep, and how tired I am at certain times, and just kind of listen to your body, right? So now that we've talked about what time you want to sleep, ideally, right? Let's talk a little bit about how much to sleep, right? Now, usually it's recommended by doctors to sleep from 7 to 9 hours, right? And this will differ depending on who you are, right? And your age, because age as you age, it's shown that you need less and less sleep, but let's not let that be an excuse to not sleep enough, alright? Because there is no excuse to do that. So let's make sure we get around 7 to 9 hours and see what suits you the best, because everybody's of course a little bit different. So you want to be able to pinpoint how much time you need to sleep so that you're fully rested, right? And there's another concept that I need to talk about that I feel as if is not talked about enough when it comes to sleep. Now, repeat this with me. Time in bed does not equal time slept. Repeat that with me again. Time in bed does not equal time slept. Just because you go to sleep or supposedly go to sleep at 10 p.m. does not mean 8 hours later that's how much you've slept. Does that make any sense? Because the devil lies in the details, right? You don't just hop into bed at 10 p.m. and light switch turn off just like that and you're asleep. No, it takes time, man. Especially if you're trying to get yourself into a different schedule, right? So ideally, this is how it's going to go if you're trying to fix a schedule, right? You want to either slowly work back or hit hard one day and try to reset all the way to around, like I said, 9 to 11 p.m., right? Ideally. Now that time establishes when you should go to sleep. But I want you to do something else. I want you to get ready to sleep and get in bed 30 minutes beforehand. Alright? Because like I said, time in bed is not equivalent to time slept. Time in bed should be more. A lot more. If they're the same, chances are you're not getting enough sleep. Or the amount of sleep that you think you're getting. Which, I'm sleeping, 10 to 6? I'm getting 8 hours. No, you are not. You're getting like 30 to an hour less. So you need to set up to sleep 30 minutes before. Or maybe even an hour, I'd say. To be honest, to be completely safe, maybe even an hour. And that is going to be how you fix your sleep schedule. Okay, now here comes the tough part, which is sustaining that, right? So at the beginning, like most things, you've probably heard this before, it's going to be painful at the beginning. It's gonna suck waking up early. But Shay, I'm not a morning person. Bro, please dismantle that belief. That is some false belief that you have put into your mind. And just because you have to wake up for school, you think that you're not a morning person? Come on, man. Think about that. You're saying that just because you have to wake up for stuff you don't like, but the moment you have to wake up for a vacation, all of a sudden you're a morning person. The moment you have to do something fun, all of a sudden you're a morning person. That's crazy, isn't it? But think about it like this. Sleeping at the time that your circadian rhythm demands is going to help you get better sleep. And as a result, you'll be in a better mood and you'll be less likely to indulge in instant gratification or overindulging in pleasurable activities. Because your circadian rhythms, I don't know if you guys know this, but they regulate your mood, right? And so you wonder how you wake up pissed sometimes, and sometimes you wake up, hey, that was amazing sleep, but that rarely happens now because you're always messing up your sleep schedule. So I highly advise you to look into your sleep schedule. This is probably one of the biggest self-improvement tips you'll ever get, because sleep is like the first thing you need to fix your schedule. Because if you're not waking up on the same day every day, it's like that is an immediate demoralizer to the rest of your entire day. And you're not getting anything done on time like you wanted to, even though you're highly motivated. even though you really, really want it that bad, it's not gonna happen. And trust me, after it's gonna suck for like a week, maybe even less, to be honest. Like, just get used to it. I mean, I say just get used to it, but it's gonna be hard to get used to, right? And so after you're used to it, the habit's gonna become very natural. Like, think about brushing your teeth. You don't think about brushing your teeth anymore, you just kind of do it. Unless you don't, which is disgusting. Start brushing your teeth, please. But like I said, it will become habit, and it will be a lot easier for you to get a lot of your work done. And then when the homies are on at night, it's easy for you to just, get on the game or go out or go do something fun, because now you've gotten all your work done. You're on a productive schedule, you're doing it constantly, and then you can spare hours on the weekend to be up late. You can do that, and then back on the grind during the week. Keep it consistent, keep it going, don't overindulge in it, and you'll be fine. But like I said, sleep is really important. Do not let any degenerate tell you otherwise, because like I said, but I'm going to reword it, so maybe this might click. Your sleep has a compounding effect on your health. It can have a compounding effect on your mood, your ability to think properly, your memory, right? And over time, you won't even realize it, but these things are degrading, and you're just like, hey, sleep don't matter that much. Sleep for the week. You look like a damn idiot. Don't be doing that to yourself. You are literally disabling yourself for the future. Especially when you don't go to sleep when your body tells you to, right? I've made that mistake plenty of times. Trust me, I've come from that degenerate lifestyle of staying up till like 7 a.m. It will ruin you. That's what I was doing all of COVID, right? And it was horrible, because going into college, that completely destroyed my work ethic. And it made it really difficult, because now I was starting at a productivity level of all the way down here, and how productive I had to actually be was like 10 times more than that. And I started procrastinating because of that, and that, like, life was just so much more difficult, way more than it needed to be. And all I really needed to do was just sleep properly and on time, and then continue the other self-improvement habits, because those help you grow even further, right? So not realize that when you're not sleeping enough, you're actually just disabling yourself. And sometimes, some of you might have experienced a lot of almost drowsiness and sluggishness during the afternoon. Well, yeah, that's because of that. That's literally because you haven't fixed your sleep schedule, I assure you. Because as soon as I did, during college, there was a point in time where I did fix my sleep schedules, and it helped tremendously. But of course, I wasn't able to maintain it properly because I didn't understand other dimensions of sleep, which is how much to sleep, and specifically when to sleep. I didn't understand that very well, and I was kind of scrambling, and just, yeah, it was horrible. But anyway, like I said, I speak from personal experience, and there are some other things I want to touch up on. So for example, there's REM sleep, right, which is your deep sleep, and you want to make sure you get as much of that as possible, because it's said that REM sleep helps with memory consolidation, right? And so we all want to be able to remember stuff, so hey, sleep enough. Trust me, there's no reason not to. Yet now that you believe that, hey, sleep is actually pretty important, you still can't seem to just get yourself to do it. Well, why is that? And let's not lie to ourselves. It's because we like doing a lot of our leisure activities during the night, right? And if you have the willpower to stop yourself from like one night of doing that, by all means do that and just fix your sleep schedule, right? Sleep on the time. If you're very, very motivated, you'll easily be able to pull something like this off. But let's say you're not, right? Let's say you're just not feeling it, and every time you you get to the night and all of a sudden you're like, damn, I don't care about my sleep anymore, I just want to indulge in this. Okay, fine, indulge in it, but still keep mindful of your sleep. So let's say you have a terrible sleep schedule right now and you're sleeping at 7 a.m. or something, right? Let's aim for 6 a.m. now. Let's aim for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 12, going backwards. That way you'll be able to keep that leisure time, and you'll be able to sleep earlier and earlier and earlier, and so now it shouldn't be a problem, at least. But like I said, to some extent, I think there is going to be some struggle there, and you need to negotiate with yourself, because tyrannizing yourself is not going to work, right? You want to negotiate with yourself. You're like, okay, hey, I'll stay up at this time and we won't go for a hard reset on our sleep, but we still need to sleep an hour earlier, and you have to make sure you do it. To some extent, you're going to have this struggle of willpower between wanting to please yourself and then wanting to go and sleep. This is where I break it to you and say that you're going to have to put in some work here, and there is going to be a struggle. This isn't easy, because if it was easy, you wouldn't need to hear this right now, and there'd be no reason to try. I mean, it'd come naturally, right? So, like I said, it's not gonna be easy, but I think if you put in the work, then you can really put yourself in a good position to be more productive for self-improvement, right? Because once you set that time to go to sleep at that certain time, and then you start waking up, most of the people will be asleep during this time. You're one of the very few people listening to this podcast, and if you take advantage of what I'm saying, like I said, most of the world will be asleep, and you'll be able to do all your productive things, all the things you need to get done. And then later that day, you can feel great about having done all those things, and now you can sit back, relax, and indulge in your leisure guilt-free. That's the way to do it. Because after you wake up, your mind's going to be in a very calm state, right? Nothing's happened. You haven't checked the latest drama or whatever happening at your school. You haven't checked on social media. You haven't done all this stuff. That's why people say to stay away from your phone after you wake up. Please stay away from your phone after you wake up. That's one other bad habit. I know I'm including it along with sleep, but I have to tell you about this because I think it largely correlates with sleep. Because right after you wake up, going straight to your phone or whatever is going to cut your productivity down in half. It's really bad. So tell yourself, hey, get all the work done, and then, like I said, negotiate with yourself, and then I can do these things. But still to moderation, not just going crazy, going out of hand, right? I still personally struggle with this. I'm still trying. See, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to pull it off. I'm still in that transition phase, and I'm going to talk about that eventually. But yeah, that's all I have for y'all today. This was Shay, the WellWiRED podcast, and let's become legends.